For the past 150 years, something really strange has been happening, and it's got everyone who knows about it feeling worried. They should be worried because this mystery could affect everyone everywhere. The mystery is about 6 men from the same family, the Wallenbergs. Over the past century, this family went from being unknown to becoming the most powerful family in Europe. These 6 men helped the Wallenberg family become so powerful. But there's something odd about them. For 150 years, they've been trying really hard to keep their power a secret. They're so focused on staying hidden that their family motto is esse non videre, which means to be, not to be seen. They want to work quietly without anyone noticing, and that makes people suspicious. The Wallenberg family has a curious rule. They're told to keep their wealth under wraps. You won't catch them throwing extravagant parties, sailing on luxury yachts, or showing off glittering jewels. In fact, none of them even make it onto the Forbes Billionaire list. Despite their incredible fortune, the Wallenbergs act like they're just regular folks. They own some of the world's biggest companies, like Ericsson, Electrolux, and AstraZeneca. But they keep everything hush-hush. So why all the secrecy? Some say it's because the Wallenbergs are using their immense wealth and influence to control Europe from the shadows. They're so discreet because they don't want anyone to uncover their true power. Is it just paranoia, or is a powerful, hidden family really shaping our world from Sweden? To get to the bottom of this, we need to dive into the Wallenberg story. Who are these secretive billionaires? How did they amass their incredible wealth? What role did they play during World War II? And just how far does their influence reach? In this video, we'll explore the Wallenberg saga through the lives of the 6 key men who led their dynasty at different times. This isn't just a story of money and power. It's a family drama filled with ambitious fathers, rebellious sons, and a mix of triumphs and tragedies. This is the Wallenberg story, a tale of the most elusive billionaire family in the world. In 1816, Sweden was home to a man with big dreams, André Oscar Wallenberg. Unlike many rags-to-riches tales, André's journey to wealth began not from a humble background, but from a deep-seated desire for riches, even though his upbringing was steeped in religious teachings that warned against the love of money. André's father, Bishop Wallenberg, was a devout man focused on spiritual matters rather than material wealth. But André had different ideas. While his father dreamed of heavenly rewards, André saw a world full of money, property, and opportunity. He wanted to grab his share of it while he was still on Earth. Brimming with intelligence and a fearless spirit, André joined the Swedish Navy and embarked on a global adventure, visiting places like Spain, France, and Portugal. Despite the excitement of travel, his ambition to become wealthy never faded. During one of his voyages, André's life took a turning point. In 1837, he landed in America, right when the country was facing a financial disaster known as the Panic of 1837. This economic meltdown had caused widespread bankruptcy and poverty, showing André just how powerful banks could be in shaping a nation's fate. Inspired by the chaos and the role banks played in it, André realized that banking was crucial to economic stability and growth. He saw an opportunity to apply these lessons back in Sweden, believing that running a successful bank wasn't rocket science but rather about common sense and discipline. André left his naval career behind and set out to make his mark. In 1856, André founded Sweden's first modern bank, Stockholm's Enskilda Bank, or SEB for short. At the time, Sweden's banking system was outdated, with no local private banks in Stockholm. Businesses had to rely on the central bank for loans, which was inconvenient. André aimed to change that by creating a bank that made borrowing easier. To attract customers, André offered the highest interest rates on deposits, encouraging people to move their money from under their mattresses to his bank. With deposits coming in, he could then provide loans to businesses, kickstarting the financial revolution he had envisioned. André's business loans became the lifeblood for countless Swedish companies, and they paid him back with interest. Before long, André Oscar Wallenberg had built the largest bank in Sweden. The once modest sailor had turned his practical wisdom into a thriving financial empire. With his masterpiece complete, André faced a new challenge, ensuring his legacy wasn't squandered by his children. He had to pick one of his 21 kids to take over the family business. The choice was clear. His eldest son, Knut Agathon Wallenberg, had been groomed for this very role. While leading the family bank was a prestigious opportunity, it came with immense pressure. Many people thought the Wallenbergs were getting too powerful and were eager to see them fail. All eyes were on Knut. Some were rooting for him, but most were hoping he'd stumble. Knut embraced his role with determination and soon proved himself as the right choice. He expanded the bank's reach internationally, opening new branches across Europe and investing in Sweden's top companies. Under his leadership, the bank's profits soared higher than ever before. But despite the bank's booming success, Knut faced a personal struggle. After nearly 30 years of marriage to his wife, Alice, they had no children. This was a significant issue because the Wallenberg fortune needed to pass down the male line. The absence of an heir was a crushing blow for Knut, who had devoted his life to securing the family legacy. At this pivotal moment, the focus shifted to Marcus Wallenberg, the often overlooked half-brother of Knut. Marcus had always been in the background, living in the shadow of his more famous sibling. While Knut enjoyed the spotlight, Marcus quietly watched from the sidelines, nursing a mix of envy and unspoken ambition. Now, in an unexpected turn of events, Marcus was set to inherit the vast empire that his father and Knut had built. The big question was whether he could uphold the illustrious Wallenberg name. When Marcus took over as CEO of the bank in 1911, he faced enormous expectations. But he didn't just meet them, he exceeded them. Marcus quickly showed he was more than capable. With a keen eye for lucrative investments, he steered the bank into new ventures that turned into major successes. Under his leadership, the Wallenbergs not only ruled the banking world, but also held stakes in some of the most valuable companies of the era. With the bank thriving, Marcus breathed a sigh of relief, grateful that he had managed to keep the family legacy intact. However, he now faced another challenge, determining who would carry on the family's legacy after him. Unlike Knut, who had no heirs, Marcus had two sons, Jacob Wallenberg and Marcus Wallenberg Jr. These new heirs grew up in luxury and had all the trappings of privilege. The question lingered. Would their privileged upbringing make them ill-suited to run the family business? Marcus decided to appoint Jacob, his eldest, as his successor. Jacob had prepared himself well for this role. After finishing his studies, he had traveled the globe, gaining valuable experience at banks in Basel, London, and New York. Now it was up to Jacob to prove he was ready to lead the Wallenberg Empire into the future. Jacob Wallenberg was undoubtedly impressive, but his younger brother, Marcus Jr., was a close contender. Despite being the second son, Marcus Jr. had also delved deeply into the world of banking, taking on roles in cities like Geneva, London, New York, Paris, and Berlin. Although both brothers were highly skilled, the family tradition dictated that the eldest son would take the top position. So Jacob was appointed CEO, while Marcus Jr. became the deputy CEO. Thus began the third generation of the Wallenberg banking dynasty. Things seemed to be running smoothly until 1938, when Europe was on the brink of war. The Wallenberg Empire was about to be swept into a global conflict that threatened everything they had built. Jacob and Marcus Jr. worked together as a dynamic duo, but their partnership faced a severe test that year. With Adolf Hitler's forces launching their aggressive campaign, the world was plunged into chaos. Bombs fell, fighter jets roared, and ships clashed in furious battles. The world was at war, and young men were sent to fight, many never to return. During this tumultuous time, the Wallenbergs made two crucial and contrasting decisions. One of these moves was commendable, while the other was highly controversial. According to declassified records, Jacob Wallenberg engaged in secret dealings with the Germans, involving black market operations, money laundering, and covert investments. Meanwhile, Marcus Jr. took a stand in stark contrast to his brother's actions. He openly supported the Allied forces fighting against Hitler. This split in the Wallenberg camp led to accusations that the family was playing both sides, a strategy some believed was designed to ensure their survival regardless of the outcome of the war. Yet, amid the conflict and controversy, there was a beacon of hope involving another Wallenberg, Raul Wallenberg, Jacob and Marcus's cousin. Raul, a Swedish diplomat stationed in Hungary, witnessed the horrific plight of Hungarian Jews under German occupation. Despite his family's wealth and safety, Raul felt compelled to act. He dedicated himself to helping those in dire need, becoming a hero in his own right. After days of deep thinking, Raul Wallenberg hit upon a brilliant idea. Leveraging his influential connections, he began issuing protective Swedish passports and setting up safe havens called Swedish houses where Jews could find refuge. His strategy was a success, rescuing tens of thousands of lives, men, women, and children. However, his life-saving efforts didn't go unnoticed for long. In January 1945, Soviet forces apprehended Raul, threw him into a truck, and took him away. He vanished without a trace. There was no trial, no legal proceedings, just his sudden disappearance. It's easy to speculate what might have happened. Today, Raul Wallenberg is honored as a wartime hero, remembered for his bravery and dedication to saving innocent lives. After 6 grueling years, the war came to an end. Hitler was defeated, and Europe began the arduous process of rebuilding. The Wallenberg banking empire emerged largely unscathed. They still had substantial cash reserves, numerous companies, and valuable assets. Jacob Wallenberg, now a grey-haired, middle-aged man, faced a pressing issue: selecting a successor. Unfortunately, Jacob had no direct heirs to pass on the family legacy, a consequence of never having married. Whether due to his intense focus on work or simply not finding the right partner, Jacob had no legitimate children to inherit his position. Although Jacob had an illegitimate son, he hadn't raised or prepared him for the role. The son was only acknowledged later in Jacob's life. With no clear heir, the responsibility fell to Jacob's younger brother, Marcus Jr. But this shift would set off one of the greatest crises in Wallenberg history. In 1946, Marcus Wallenberg Jr. took over as CEO. Having served as deputy CEO for years, he was well equipped for the role and excelled at it. Under his leadership, Wallenberg's businesses came to dominate the Swedish economy, employing 40% of the workforce and holding a significant share of the Stockholm stock market. The only lingering concern was who would succeed Marcus Jr. He had 2 sons, Mark and Peter Wallenberg, and had already begun grooming Mark for the role. The future of the Wallenberg Empire was now in the hands of the next generation. Mark was the natural choice to take over the family empire, except for one major hitch: he had no interest in running it. Despite being a decent guy, Mark wasn't cut from the same cloth as his father. The weight of the Wallenberg legacy and the responsibility of managing a vast fortune were overwhelming for him. He felt trapped by the expectations tied to his name. Mark had to endure a rigorous journey to prove himself, starting with Harvard and stints at various international banks before finally returning to head the family business in Sweden. Despite his efforts, the pressure was relentless. Managing such a colossal empire was not only demanding but also suffocating. Mark made a few missteps that attracted negative press, further straining his position. In November 1971, Mark reached his breaking point. He decided he couldn't cope any longer and took his own life. The Wallenberg family was stunned. Mark left behind a wife and 4 children, and his father, Marcus Jr., was deeply affected, not only by the loss of his son, but also by the urgent need to find a new leader for the family's empire. With Mark gone, the only option left was Peter Wallenberg, Mark's brother. However, Peter and Marcus Jr. had a strained relationship, marked by years of discord. As the second son, Peter often felt sidelined and undervalued. But despite their issues, Peter had to step up and take charge. Peter took over the family business and performed admirably. He restructured the company, broadened its investments, and significantly grew the family wealth. Before long, it was time for the next generation to take over. When Peter retired, his son Jacob Wallenberg stepped into the role. Fortunately, Jacob didn't have to manage alone. Mark's son, Husky, was now an adult and joined Jacob in leading the family business, ensuring a smoother transition into the next phase of their storied legacy. Jacob and Husky Wallenberg have expertly managed the Wallenberg Empire, demonstrating exceptional leadership that extends beyond mere financial success. Under their stewardship, the family has become a beacon of philanthropy, establishing a range of charitable foundations and donating substantial amounts to support various causes. Their commitment to helping those in need is unmatched, positioning them as one of the most benevolent families in history. Now, let's dive into the intriguing question. Are the Wallenbergs' secretive nature and immense wealth a sign that they control Europe from behind the scenes? To answer this, we need to examine the facts closely. The Wallenbergs are deeply entrenched in Europe's economic fabric. They hold significant shares in a broad spectrum of influential European firms and financial institutions. This extensive portfolio gives them substantial clout in key industries such as banking, telecommunications, and manufacturing. By controlling such vital sectors, they wield considerable influence over the European economy. Moreover, their connections with European politicians are well documented. These ties could potentially allow them to sway political decisions and government policies, further amplifying their influence. This level of involvement in both business and politics might suggest that the Wallenbergs have the power to shape significant aspects of European life. However, the notion that they are covertly controlling Europe or even the world remains speculative. Their secrecy and discretion may fuel such theories, but the true extent of their influence is not entirely transparent. What's crucial to remember is that, beyond their impressive wealth and power, the Wallenbergs are still a family. They experience the same personal joys and challenges as any other. Their lives are marked by the usual familial dynamics, successes and setbacks, love and loss, as they navigate the responsibilities that come with their prominent status. The Wallenbergs, with their rich legacy, are essentially a family striving to balance their monumental heritage with their personal lives. What do you think of the Wallenbergs? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. If you loved this video, like and subscribe.